I'm not making any money talking these days. Good Christ, 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 Christ. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not gonna lie to you. Still am. I guess I am a decent guy because I'm a fucking jerk, and I'm not a jerk. Apparently, I'm a dick. I'm not an awful guy, but I've done so much ridiculous stuff. I'm an awful guy. Hey, what's happening? 40-year-old boy podcast. Are you done moving that chair? I started talking. I wasn't sure we were doing this. Are you ready? All right. Folks, I'm very easily distracted, apparently. If anything gets moved, or I need total stillness if I'm going to sit here and just yammer. That's what I need, stillness to yammer. You remember Stillness to Yammer, open for Enigma back in the old monk chanting touring days? I have Enigma on the brain because I saw Tropic Thunder and Enigma is in it. By the way, go to comedyfilmnerds.com and read my Tropic Thunder review if you haven't already, and see if you agree with it. And if you don't, keep it to yourself. I don't need to have you Ebert my roper via email. Keep your thumb down wherever you want to keep it, because I felt the way I felt, and that's the way it goes. I don't need to have some sort of movie debate with you folks. Although maybe I do. You know what? Go ahead. Write me with all of your what you think of the current releases, and I'll delete them immediately without reading them. But still, if it makes you feel better to write them and send them to me, please do that. Today's show, folks, is dedicated to anyone who has ever risked their life to tell the truth. I say that because my friend Lily has an album here by her newest friend, Devil Doll.
Don't plug her.
I'm not plugging her so much as laughing at the fact that her album, this recording is dedicated to anyone who has ever risked their life to tell the truth. Yes, folk singers always putting their life on the line to go ahead and spill about their old boyfriends. Fantastic. Devil Doll. Please be more self-important on your next album. This album is dedicated to all of the presidents who had their finger on the nuclear button and spared millions of lives by not going through with the action. Here's a song about a guy I used to date. Wonderful, Devil Doll. I'm sorry, Stacy, whatever your real name is. Devil Doll. That's great. All right. So, but she does have a nice rack on the album cover. I gotta lie. Was that? I don't want to lie. Yeah, she got a decent rack. She looks like Dizzy. Looks like your friend Dizzy Von Dam.
She is so much hotter than Dizzy.
I don't know about that. I've seen Dizzy live in person and breathing. Oh, okay. I was going to say, you better be lying, because Dizzy would not be happy. And it doesn't matter. Dizzy doesn't listen to this show. Dizzy's off being dysfunctional. Oh, sure she does. She's very busy posing for photography. I was going to say photographs and photography. I'm sorry, folks. I was late today. I was supposed to be here. I'm still in weird graveyard mode, and I was supposed to be here at 1 o'clock, and I woke up at 12:20. And in my head went, oh man, 12:20. If I get up and jump in the shower, I could be over there right in time. I'm late already. So I did that thing where you buy yourself that extra half hour because you're like, well, I'm late. I might as well just be really fucking late at this point. And then called Lily at 12:50, and she goes, "Are you here?" Because apparently she'd smoked 9 packs of cigarettes in 5 minutes before she answered the phone. "Are you here?" I said, "Oh, I don't know. Do you have cancer? How did that work out? What happened to your throat?" But so then I took some time and I did that. And then I was supposed to bring notes. I've been making myself write like bullet points on a legal pad in case I need. And then I never refer to the legal pad. Like it'll sit here. It's just a crutch. It's all it is. It's like it's sitting right here, and I'll be like, oh, that's there, and I never look at it. As case in point, because what would I write on there? Jizz on face story. Do you think I would write that down? No, moron. Of course you wouldn't. No, I wind up just talking. But so anyway, it's been tough because I'm still in graveyard mode, like I said. So I wind up sleeping late, even though I don't want to sleep late. Because I go to bed at 8 in the morning, and then I'll get up at like 11 and zombie through the day, and then still stay up until 8 o'clock the next morning. I don't get a lot of sleep, I guess, is what I'm telling you folks. And also, then I got food poisoning. That didn't help over the weekend. I had 2 excursions to restaurants this weekend. One of them I'm going to tell you about right fucking now. I went to a restaurant in Hollywood. There's we go to late movies. Like it'll be Lily and her husband and me and Karen. And we've always been looking for places to go because we usually wind up at Casa Vega, which is this Mexican restaurant, because it's open till 1. It serves till 1, so we'll wind up going there on Friday or Saturday. Or if we're over by, other places, we'll... I was going to just say where people lived, and I don't want to do that. But if we're over by other places, we'll go to other places. How generic was that for you, folks? If we're over in that general area, we'll go to that place. I am risking my life to tell the truth on this podcast. Anyway, I'm always looking for new places to go, like late at night. So we found a place called The Waffle. Karen and I found it. It's right by the ArcLight Theater, so we can go to a late movie and then walk right over to The Waffle. It's awesome. And then so Karen and I went and tried it out, and we had the food. And service was a little slow when Karen and I went, but it's because we sat on the patio, so I figured they'd kind of forget about you when you're on the patio. But the food was good, and it was that typical, it was like kind of spruced up diner food. Like they had a macaroni and cheese in a crock. What do you call that thing? Like that in a huge deep clay bowl. A terrine. No, not a terrine. A tagine. It was a tagine. A tagine of macaroni and cheese. It's very Moroccan. So no, it was, they bring you like a crock, like a whatever. And the food was good. Karen and I enjoyed it. But it was more concerned about the fact that it's open till 2 in the morning. So we don't have to go all the way up Franklin to the Hollywood Hills Coffee Shop, which is also a good place to go late. Anyway. So I dragged David, my buddy David, out there, and we went and saw Tropic Thunder, which I reviewed. I don't know if I mentioned this, folks. I reviewed that on comedyfilmnerds.com. Go check it out and see what I had to say about Tom Cruise. But then we go to the Waffle, and we order our food, and our waitress could not have been nicer. This woman, Audrey, she was really sweet, very hand on your shoulder. Hey, how are you? Can I help you? All that, but kind of giggly and fun, and really, and kind of cute, and really nice. And I'm like, this is an enjoyable night. And we sat inside to make sure the service was a little faster. So we ordered our food, and then Blair got involved. Blair's the manager, and Blair is obviously the runner because Audrey's she's taking orders. She can't be bothered to bring our food out. I don't know what the level of the hierarchy there is, but Blair's a manager and also a runner, and he has to bring our food out. So I'm sitting there with David, and we had each ordered a waffle to go with our breakfasts. Like we each got a breakfast and then we got a side waffle instead of toast. And so then they bring out our waffles. And the guy even says, first he brings out David's waffle and he goes, hey guys, your breakfast's coming out one at a time. So no sorry. No, hey, you know what? I don't know what happened. Just, hey guys, your breakfast is coming out one plate at a time. Really? Okay, because that's how I like to do it. I like to eat my meal in shifts with my friend. Go ahead, by all means, bring it out in shifts. And again, I'm going to stress that I am a guy who gets mad over the smallest things. But like, if there was a nuclear bomb, I'd be like, oh well. But if somebody doesn't bring me a napkin when I ask for it, I'm going to kill everybody within a 5-mile radius. Like I make the smallest things big and the biggest things, who fucking cares? And you know what? Half of that might be a lie. The biggest things still might piss me off as much as the little things. I might just be ignoring it. Who knows? So I'm sitting there. They bring the waffles out. And, my waffle is a side. My waffle is an accoutrement to my actual eggs dish. I didn't order a waffle as an appetizer. I don't want that first. And then I have my waffle. I put a little syrup on it. I ate cold. My waffle's cold. How do you make a cold waffle, folks? How does that happen? It's batter in a hot place that makes it into a shape. And then it should stay hot. Are you pre-making said waffles and then placing them in a waffle holder? I picture their kitchen being like a mail room, and they have just like slots, and there's waffles in there. You can just reach in and grab a waffle and throw it on a fucking plate. These waffles weren't made to order. It wasn't like fluffy and crispy. It was cold and ominous. Nobody wants an ominous waffle, folks. Let me tell you that. Nobody wants a waffle that is bringing you a harbinger of doom. So. I don't want an ominous waffle. So I'm sitting there, and I bite the waffle, and I had a bacon waffle. And their bacon waffle, I thought, had like bacon in the batter. Like I thought it would be like that within. I was like, this is going to be awesome. Like just a well-constructed bacon. It's, you know what it is? It's a waffle, and then they sprinkle bacon on it. They crumble up some bacon over it, which I guess is okay. But it's not what I was thinking. I mean, I thought bacon waffle would be that, not waffle topped by bacon. So, again, I am a child. I think we all know that. So I've got my waffle, David's got his waffle, and he loves his waffle. And David, my friend, you can tell when he likes something because he gets all quiet and he makes this face. Like he's just like, and he's eating the waffle. And I'm, all right, so I'm waiting. Then they bring him his breakfast. They bring him his eggs and stuff, and they put it on the table in front of him. And I still have just a waffle. I have no breakfast. So they bring David his breakfast, and we've ordered, he has eggs, and then they have hash browns. And in the middle of you get hash browns with your meal, but they also have special hash browns that you can order that are like covered or smothered or, all that kind of stuff, like a festive. Well, they had this one called, it was like mushroom hash browns. And what it was mushrooms, caramelized onions, bacon, and sour cream on top of your hash browns, which sounds a lot like a dish that I've had because my uncle was Lithuanian and my stepdad is Lithuanian, and they make this stuff called kugla, which is essentially like a cake or a pudding of bacon, potatoes, onions, and you put sour cream on it, and then you pass out into a coma for 4 hours because it's the best thing you've ever eaten in your life. Every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, it was just like, all right, it's time to have some kugla. I couldn't care less about fucking Santa Claus. I couldn't care less about who comes on Thanksgiving. Anybody? Nobody. Just you just get food. There's some Santa Claus of food who comes by with a turkey, and they would bring kugla, and that's all I fucking cared about as a kid. And now to this day, even I call ahead a month ahead to make sure, because it's a project. You know what? I have a picture of me grating the potatoes for the kugla, and I will put it up. It'll be on my MySpace picture this week. I will make sure that it's up, because it is literally, you just have a gigantic pot with, I'm going to guess, somewhere around 1,000 potatoes. You have to peel them, and then you have to grate them. Like, oh, it's awful. Your fingers are bleeding. And then the starchy water, your hands form into bloody claws, and you have to soak them in hot water to loosen them up. But it's just, the end result, well worth it. So when I saw onions, bacon, potatoes, sour cream, I immediately went, well, that's going to be like kugla. So when Karen and I had gone there, I had ordered a breakfast, and I said, hey, can I get my hash browns? Because it's, by the way, $10 for those hash browns. Okay, if you get them. But I said to the guy when I was there the first time, I said, hey, can I just get my hash browns with my breakfast like that? He goes, it's going to be extra money. And I go, that's fine. I don't care. I can't order the $10 one because I'll never eat it. So just make my side hash browns like that. So they charged me $4 extra. Everybody was happy. So Audrey, when we ordered our breakfasts, I said, hey, can you do us a favor? Can you just make my hash browns like that and charge me extra? She goes, oh yeah, no problem. And then then David said, you know what? I think I'll do the same thing. Okay, great. So we're both going to get that. We go mushroom up our hash browns, make them the way you make them. She said, great, I'll charge you extra. So David gets his breakfast. By the way, I'm well aware of how horrible this story is. It just dawned on me. I don't know why I'm even bothering, but trust me, it goes somewhere. This story, like most other stories, is going to end with me looking stupid. So just brace yourselves for that. But David gets his breakfast. You know what? Never before in human history have more people wished for the appearance of a legal pad. Everyone out there right now that's listening is like, Christ, why doesn't he have his notes? If he never went to his notes ever in the previous 21 episodes, this would be the time for him to have some fucking notes to consult. Why the hell doesn't he have something to look at to get him out of this goddamn potato story? Nobody cares about you and your breakfast. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, fine. I hear you, all right? I can hear you all collectively sighing as you realize there's still more to the breakfast story. And I will continue to tell it. This is a free show. Blow me. So, David gets his breakfast, and it is, he gets his hash browns, and here's what his hash browns look like. Literally, it's a pile of potatoes, and they're good. They make good hash browns there. And they have piled mushrooms on top. Just a pile of mushrooms. And a pile. Like, I mean, not even like nicely laid out or anything. It looks like they hit a button and mushrooms fell from the ceiling on top of these potatoes. So he looks down and he goes to mix it up, and I go, is there anything in there besides mushrooms? He goes, no. I said, okay. And I called over the waitress, and I said, I go, hey, Audrey, do me a favor. I go, if you can see there that he ordered the mushroom hash browns with the onions and the bacon and stuff. She goes, oh, they made it wrong. I'm sorry. I go, and also remember, mine are that way too. I don't have my breakfast yet, as you guys have decided to wait 5 minutes between bringing out every plate. I didn't say that. I was very nice to her. But I said, do me a favor, just double check that they're doing my hash browns the same way. She goes, okay, great. She splits. In the reflection of the window, I can see Blair stops her, and I hear him say, what's going on? And she explains what happens. He comes over and he goes, is there a problem? And I go, well, just you can see that my friend, his hash browns just have mushrooms, and we ordered them the mushroom style with the sour cream and all that stuff. And he goes, oh, well, we don't serve them that way. You have to order that as an individual plate. I said, I understand that, but we ordered it and we were happy to pay extra. I ordered and he ordered it. And he goes, yes, but you don't understand. We don't do it that way. I thought you just wanted mushrooms, so we went ahead and put mushrooms on there, but we can't make them the other way because you need to order the other plate. I said, yes, I understand that, but I've been here before. They did it for me before. They charged me extra, and we don't mind paying extra. We didn't want to buy the $10 plate of potatoes that no human being could possibly consume. We decided to get our individual potatoes with some mushrooms and stuff on them the way you guys make them, and we'll be happy to pay extra. And he goes, yes, but you don't understand. We don't do that. Sir, you got to understand. I'm saving you money here. I'm making sure that you don't have to pay extra for something that you don't want. I go, listen, I understand that, but I'm telling you, I go, just that's fine. I go, whatever you need to do is fine. And he leaves. And I look at David, and David is still eating. And I said, man, I go, I don't need to be told how many times by a manager that I'm wrong. The customer is right. He's just right. That's the way it works out. That's just the way it's supposed to be. I don't know. I didn't design that. And let's be honest, the customer is never fucking right. The customer is a jagoff. We all know that. We've all worked retail. We've all worked in food places. And the customer is a cock. You want to punch the customer in the fucking head. Unfortunately, you can't. That's why businesses stay open, and that's why customers come to those businesses, because they can get what they want. And I wasn't even being a tool. I just wanted to get, I wanted to get what I ordered and what I'd paid for and what I'd come before and ordered. I'm happy to pay the extra $4. I just can't eat a $10 plate of potatoes. I'm throwing up enough of my meals these days, folks. I don't need to be throwing up fucking potatoes all over the goddamn place. So, the guy goes and splits. Now, mind you, I don't even have my goddamn breakfast yet. But, David's eating his breakfast, and then the guy brings out my breakfast. I had ordered corned beef hash and eggs and also those mushroom potatoes. It was great. So he puts the plate down in front of me and he goes, all right, how we doing? Everything okay? Fine, thanks. Walks away. I look at my plate and they did my potatoes the right way. It's got the potatoes, it's got the onions and the bacon and the sour cream and it's got my over easy eggs. And there's no corned beef hash. None. Not even like an afterthought. Not even like they put a little on and then, and not even like they forgot. It's just gone. It's just not there. It's just a plate of eggs and potatoes, which is fine. I enjoy eggs and potatoes. And again, truth be told, I don't need to be eating fucking corned beef hash, folks. Because again, I'm just going to vomit it up later anyway. That's a bad habit I've acquired, folks. I had gastric bypass surgery, and you're supposed to. I'm finding it difficult to find things to eat and keep down, even 5 years out. Or is it 5 years? No, it's 3 years. 3 years out, I still find myself eating stuff, and then I get way too full, and I have to get rid of it, unfortunately, and I have to throw up. It just has to be done. But lately, I've been eating stuff that I shouldn't eat and then throwing it up, which is stupid. So I'm trying to stop doing that. I don't even know why I'm sharing that with you. I have problems, folks. So. and go ahead, take those and run with them. Do what you will. So I get my plate and I'm sitting there and now I'm waiting because I won't eat any of it until they fix it. And by the way, of the waffle that I got 2 waffles. My order of bacon waffle came with 2 small waffles. I've eaten one of them and the other one is just sitting there because I wanted to stop eating a waffle because I wanted to eat my other food. And Audrey comes by and I go, hey Audrey. Do me a favor. I should say it took 5 minutes for me to catch somebody's eye. Now, 5 minutes with a breakfast cooling in front of you is an eternity. Meanwhile, David is two-fisted in his breakfast. He doesn't care. He's eating. He's going off. And he's like, you got a problem? And I go, yeah, dude, there's no hash. And he's like, okay. I go, so I got to talk to somebody and figure out what's going on. So Audrey comes over and I go, Audrey, do me a favor. There's no corned beef hash. I ordered eggs with the corned beef hash and there's no hash. They made my potatoes right, but do me a favor. Just on the check, make sure you don't charge me for eggs with hash. Just make sure it's eggs and potatoes or whatever it is. I'm sure it's just a couple bucks, but please, do me a favor. Because if I don't mind paying extra for the potatoes, I don't want to get charged for something I didn't get. Bad enough, I've got a fucking cold waffle doorstop staring me in the face that I choked down. So she goes, okay, no problem. I see her walk away. Blair stops her again in the reflection of the window and goes, what's going on? I see him do it. This is none of his business. He doesn't have to get involved. He does, though. He walks over and he goes, there a problem? I go, yeah, I ordered corned beef hash and eggs, and I just got the eggs. I go, you guys made the potatoes right, but unfortunately there's no corned beef hash. And he goes, okay, so is there something that you need? I go, look, you brought me a cold waffle. You brought my friend potatoes that weren't correct, and then you scolded us about the potatoes 3 different times. Then you bring me my breakfast, and there's no corned beef hash. I go, this whole thing has been kind of a nightmare. Wouldn't you agree? and David is eating, but I see him kind of freeze because, again, it takes a lot to get me to a point. I'm confrontational. I'm not going to lie about that, but I'm also understanding. But if you fuck me over 100 times, I got to say something about it. I mean, this isn't a cheap joint. This is like a $35 breakfast for two dudes. So I gotta say something. And he says, "Sir, I wasn't scolding you about the potatoes." I go, "Well, you made it a contention point where you wouldn't stop talking about it." And he goes, "I'm not kidding." He goes, "I was merely trying to point out the fact, sir, that you were wrong when you ordered the potatoes, and we don't serve them that way." He immediately repeats his speech. I look up at him, and he's talking, and he's talking, and he's still talking about that and the hash and da-da. And I take my napkin off my lap, fold it, put it on the table, and just lean back and look up at him, looking right in his face. He's talking, I'm nodding, David's eating, but at the same time, David is going, "What's going to happen here? Is he going to tackle this motherfucker? What is going to happen?" Finally, he just keeps talking. He's like, "I wasn't scolding you, da-da-da. I'm sorry about your hash, da-da-da." I go, "Fine, I'm finished." And Blair goes, "Excuse me?" I go, "I'm done. You can take this." He goes, "Okay." And he walks away. Doesn't touch my plates. So I take my plates and I put them on the fucking table next to me. Boom, boom. Get them away from me. I'm not touching one bite of this motherfucking breakfast. Get it out of here. Now, I have a history of this, folks. One time I went to Casual Male, which is the fat guy clothing store. Now, full disclosure, I'm going to tell you, I was a fat guy shopping for clothes, so I was in a bad mood anyway. Fat guy does not want to be trying on clothes because a fat guy hopping in and out of pants all day is just going to be a sweaty mess who has to concentrate on the fact that he is a fat, sweaty mess and he's winded from trying on slacks. So I'm in a room with a mirror looking at my fatness oozing all over the fucking place, tucking it into shirts that are ugly because that's what the fat guy store sells. They sell ugly clothes, folks, because they know fat people aren't stylish or they wouldn't be fucking fat. So I'm in the room, I'm trying on clothes, I hate it, but I still got to buy clothes because unfortunately my ever-expanding girth is taxing the seams of my old clothes. So I need to buy a pile of clothes. And that's how it is too there. You just literally start putting clothes on a scale, and when you reach a certain amount, they go, "Hey, you're at 45 pounds of pants. Fantastic, bag it up." That's how it works in the fat guy store, folks. Literally, it's just like a forklift, and you just start launching clothes into it. And once the scale tips and the guy dressed as a fat baby goes up in the air, you buy the clothes. That's what you do. You just take so I buy all these clothes, and I stack them up on the counter. And the manager comes out, and this manager was a piece of work. He's wearing a tie. And on a Sunday afternoon, he just looked weird. Like he didn't look comfortable at all. And he had like crazy Mike Score Flock of Seagulls hair swept to the side. His hair looked like my buddy Greg Simon that I went to high school with. Just like this helmet, like Matthew Sweet. You know what Matthew Sweet looks like? That's what Greg Simon sort of looks like, and that's what this manager looked like. But he also was sporting like a cheesy mustache. This guy was just grim. So I pile up my clothes, and it's just stacked to the ceiling with fat guy clothes. And he rings it up, and he goes, "Hey, can we put you on the mailing list?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not? I want all of my neighbors to know that I shop at the fat guy store. Not that they know that, believe me, when they see me waddling in from my car, they are well aware of the fact that I'm shopping at the fat guy store, if I'm shopping at all. They might think that I just have gnomes sneak in the middle of the night and stitch my clothing because that's how big I was." So I tell the guy, "Sure, put me on the mailing list." And he goes ahead and types my name in, and he types it in wrong. He misspells my name, like my last name, like it's like Shmitt or something like that. And he goes, "Oh man, I misspelled your name." And I go, "Okay, well just change it." And he goes, "Well, the thing is I already hit enter, so it's already locked in. So it's just when you get a mailer from us, your name will be wrong. And I just want to apologize for that now, but but you'll know that it's from us." I go, "Well, you can't change it?" He goes, "No, I already hit enter and I would have to back it all out and I would have to redo the whole transaction, so it doesn't make any sense." I go, "Okay, cool. Put all of these clothes back." He goes, "What?" I go, "I don't want any of it. I want you to just go ahead and put it all back. Not interested in paying for it." He goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Look, if you don't care enough about me to spell my fucking name right, why would I give you $1 for anything in this fucking store?" And I didn't swear, I don't think, if I remember correctly. I think I said, I was just like, "Dude, put it all back. I'm not going to pay for it." It was like $500 worth of clothes. And I just, you know what? If you're going to tell me that you're not going to spell my name right, then you know what? Get fucked. Keep your clothes. I'm getting the fuck out of here. I'll wrap myself in banana leaves and a loincloth rather than pay for that fucking shit. So Lily apparently very pleased with that. She decided to clap.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you who wasn't thrilled with it. Lily's husband at the breakfast house. Because when I took my plates and I put them over on the other table, and I go, boom, I'm done. I'm not touching one. I can't eat another fucking bite of this. He just looks at me with this face. Because David wants desperately to be liked by waiters. We go out to a restaurant. We go out to go eat somewhere. David will chat up the waiter as if he is Dick Cavett in 1975, and he's looking across the stool at David Frost, and they're talking about the most interesting things you could possibly bring up. He's talking to the waiter about what he likes to do and where he works, and he's been on the set all day, and are you an actor, and the actors group, and all these different things, and that's fine. And I sit there, and I fucking grind my teeth, and I go, why are you doing this? This person doesn't want to talk to you. You're nice and friendly and interesting, and I understand that runs a certain way for a certain amount of time, but after a while, they just want to give you your side of fucking butter and get the fuck out of there. Anyway. Well, it was funny to see when the shoe was on the other foot, David sit there as I wind up listening to this guy, and I turn into my crazy fucking Hulk persona at the table, literally just throw my breakfast onto the other table. I'm done. That's it. Done. And David looks at me and I go, man, I'm not going to eat a bite of this food. I cannot believe, who does he think he is? He's going to come here and I'm not in his house and he can tell me what to eat. He's not even the goddamn chef. And David's just quietly putting bacon in his mouth and going, do you want to go? Should we leave? And the thing is, David's paying for this breakfast. So I'm not going to just say, let's get the fuck out of here, as much as I want to, as much as I wish my friend would back my play at this point. I can't, because my friend is enjoying himself. My friend has a napkin tucked into his shirt, and he's savoring every single bite of his delicious breakfast, and just looking at me with my eyes narrowed into slits, and just furious, fucking grinding my teeth and just set jaw and wanting to fucking launch on this manager. And David, it was so funny, so cute to see him just go, should we go? Like just this quiet, no, we shouldn't go. Please eat your eggs. I don't want. Let's not let my childishness ruin your breakfast. And to his credit, he didn't. Continued to eat, and then here's Blair comes over, and he goes, "Are you finished here?" Well, it's in another booth. What do you think? Am I finished? I didn't say that, but I went, yeah. So he took it, and Audrey came over and could not have apologized more. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about the way this turned out. I understand. They made a mistake. The kitchen is really backed up. The kitchen is just making all these excuses, and I understand that. And if that one guy had done that, everything would be fine. But instead, he acted like I was the one who had made everything go wrong, and it infuriates me when that happens. Of course, the punchline on this is they bring the bill, and the guy comes over and he goes, "Hey, I took your three egg breakfast off." And I said, "Thanks." I didn't say thanks. David said, "Thank you," because he really wants Blair to like him again at this point. Puts the check down, splits. They charge me for my waffle, my bacon waffle that I ate one of the small 2 waffles. Charge me the $10 for that waffle. And I looked at David and I go, "You're not going to pay for that, right?" And he goes, "Well, you did eat, part of it." I go, "You don't." All right. And I didn't say anything because again, he's paying. And if it's coming out of his wallet and he doesn't mind paying for it, that's fine. But that was wrong. You don't fucking pay for that. You call that guy over. I don't care if I got to argue with that guy for the next 30 minutes. I am not paying for half a waffle. Especially after you fucked everything up. Everything came out one at a time. So, bottom line, don't go to the Waffle on Sunset Boulevard. Only go if you've got 4 hours. And you know what? I went to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. And they brought all the menus. They brought the plates out. It was like a tasting menu. That's what I had at the Waffle. A tasting menu of breakfast. Everything came out one at a time. "Here's your waffle, sir." "Well, yeah, it's a side to my breakfast." "Enjoy it, sir." Walk off. You're a goddamn breakfast joint. How do you fuck up breakfast? Infuriating. And I know this. I know this goes to me and to my life and how I have no control over anything, so I wind up wanting control over the smallest things. I get that. That's on my end. But they still fucked up. This is still their fault. And oh my God, was David uncomfortable. Oh, it was so funny to watch. As uncomfortable as I've ever been as he challenges a waiter to an Indian wrestling contest in the middle of a restaurant. That's how uncomfortable he was to see me staring holes through this guy's head as he scolded me about potatoes for the 4th time. "No, sir, you don't understand." "Yes, you're right. I don't understand your breakfast policy. Please explain it to me, Blair, the off-duty actor." God knows I want you to go ahead and touch base with me on just how many mistakes I've made regarding your potato policy. You fucking hump. Unbelievable. And it was funny because then I told Karen that story, and don't think that didn't. She's calling me from Chicago because she's gone. Karen's gone for 2 weeks, and I can just picture her silently going, yes, that she wasn't there and didn't have to experience it because she's seen far too many incidents of my being crazy to even to deal with it. And she just, it was so funny. I told that whole story, and then she just goes, well, I guess we're not going back there, huh? You guessed right. I called them. I called to talk to a manager because I really feel like that needs to be discussed. It was crazy bad. It was so bad. And then you charged me the 10 for the waffle. That's literally, that was, you know what you might as well have done? You might as well just held the door open for me and said sorry and then kicked me in the ass when I walked out. And went, what? You kind of, you didn't expect that? Didn't you deserve that? I didn't deserve to get kicked in the ass. But again, I wasn't paying. And the guy who was paying was like, you know what? I'll go ahead and pick up the tab on your half-eaten waffle if it means that you'll get out of here and stop thinking about this. There you go, folks. That was my breakfast excursion. And I think me telling that story was longer than the breakfast. That might have been... I got to apologize, folks. That is a long-ass story about breakfast. You must feel the way I felt at that meal. You're like, hey, we ordered a funny podcast and we got this bullshit. What the hell? Send it back. Right now, my Blair is pulling me aside going, is there a problem? Are your listeners complaining? They might be. Yes, I think they are. I can't blame them. It was funny. I used to work at Little Caesars Pizza when I was a kid. And by a kid, I mean I was 30. No, I wasn't 30. That would be crazy. I was like 18, I think. Was it 18? Christ, who knows? But I worked with these two girls. It was when I first moved to California in '86. So yeah, I was 19. The reason I got the job there is my brother Lenny. He was a district. He ran like he was a district manager, I guess. So he ran like 8 different stores. And when I first moved, he just plugged me right into the stores. And that was bad having your brother as a boss because then it's like, you know, I was supposed to be at Little Caesars at 9:30 to be open by 11. I was like the prep guy, and I had so I'd get there at like 10:20. And I'd use yesterday's sandwich buns. Like I wouldn't make new sandwich buns. Like it was bad. I was not a good Little Caesars guy. I am not a good guy for jobs, folks. Very, very rarely have I done well at a job although the writing, like my writing jobs I've done good at, like those are better. But like my other gigs, man, oh Christ, just terrible. So I'll tell you that, this is a story I was going to tell last week and I got diverted by whatever, but I used to work at 7-Eleven, and I got the job after Little Caesars after Lenny wound up firing me because I was not a good employee, folks. But also at the same time, it was hard working for your brother because he would make me do shit that he wouldn't make other people do because I also lived with him. So like then he would come in and if you come into a job and another guy, some guy's fucking up, you either just fire him or make him, do whatever. But Lenny would make me like do extra work. Like he'd make me work longer hours and shit. It was just awful. And I could have quit, I guess, but I also needed money. And if I would have quit, that would have meant I would have had to go out and find a job on my own instead of relying on my brother to get me one. But I was going to tell you, I worked at Little Caesars in Mission Viejo, and I worked with these two girls named Tracy and Marla. And they were the first ones who ever, when I would tell a story and I would be talking, and then in the middle of the story, I'd go, I can't believe how long this story is. And and I'll never forget it. Marla looked at Tracy once and she just goes, oh my God, he totally knows. That's exactly what she said. Like very crazy Southern California 16-year-old Valley girl chick. Oh my God, he like totally knows. Because I would tell a story I've always known when a story is too fucking long. And it didn't stop me. Certainly didn't stop me from dumping that breakfast in your lap. But I've always known I'll have that interior meter that goes, you are talking a lot about nothing. What the hell? And you would think that would be a skill that would lend itself to successful podcasting. Talking a lot about nothing. And I think so far it has, I suppose, if the feedback means anything. This week I think will be the true test as we see whether or not you people can stay white-knuckle gripped to your iPod earbuds over a 45-minute breakfast anecdote. Holy Christ. So, oh my God, he totally knows. Marla and Tracy. And it's so funny, I've actually Googled them because now things to see if like what they're doing Because now they'd be like 35. You know what I mean? So I still think of them in my head as these two 16 or 17-year-old girls that were hysterical to me, especially moving out from Chicago, to then run into girls that actually were like Valley Girl chicks. And they were cute and funny and whatever. So I worked at Little Caesars, and it was just a nightmare, folks. It was just I actually I would sleep in the Little Caesars sometimes because when my car would break down, I had to take a bus. And taking the bus, of course, as you know, it would be normally a 15-minute ride to my Little Caesars. I guess I could do the hour walk if I wanted to get up earlier. But instead, what I would do is I would go out at night and do comedy and have fun. And then I would have my buddy drop me off at my Little Caesars, and I had the keys. And I would let myself in, and I would sleep. I would sleep overnight and then wake up in the morning, which was great until one Saturday when someone came in, like into the Little Caesars with their keys. It was a different manager. And I'm asleep on the prep table. And I hear him and I hear the bell and I immediately roused out of bed and I stand up and I'm just leaning there like with an old coat. And he just goes, "What are you doing here? When'd you get here?" I go, "Oh man, I've been here like 15 minutes. "No, you haven't." No, I think the sacks of flour on the prep table with dish towels on them that provided your bed and pillows would indicate you'd been here a little bit longer than 15 minutes. But I loved it. I loved being in Little Caesars late at night. Like, it was so sneaky. Like, it just felt sneaky to be in there at 2 a.m. With all the lights out. And, like, the cops would come and they would flash their lights in because they would see, that was their thing, is they would check up on all the strip malls to see if anything was going on. And I'd be peeking out to see what was. I made it like a little adventure. I was never, I wasn't into the making pizza part of working there, but God, did I love the espionage part. I enjoyed the hiding in the back from the police part of my job at the pizza place. So anyway, but then after Lenny whacked me from my many Little Caesars jobs, and he fired me like 10 times. Who am I kidding? But then I finally was like, the hell with it. I don't want to rely on him anymore. So I got a job at 7-Eleven. And I wind up working at the 7-Eleven, and I get along really well with the owners. It was Terry, and I won't say their last names, whatever. They were nice people. And I started working graveyard. Well, I think I told you, I was in California, so I was working graveyard, but I didn't want to waste really nice days being in California, so I would work 4 days in a row, and I wouldn't sleep. I would work graveyard, and I would get off at 6, and then I would come home, and I'd maybe cat nap until like 9 or 10, and then we'd go to the beach. My friend would come get me, and we'd hang out all day at the beach, and then we'd go out at night, and then I would get to my house and maybe get another cat nap for 20 minutes before I had to go to 7-Eleven and work from 10 to 6. So I would do this for 3-4 days in a row, and then I would have 2 days off, and then I would just go into a coma for 2 days. Like, I would just absolutely sleep for like 18 hours and try to catch up. And it wasn't the smartest of schedules, but it was, I had gotten used to doing it, and my body was fried, and my brain was screwed up, but it didn't matter. I was doing it. I was having fun, hanging out with my buddy Eggs, and we were having a good time. And it was funny. Eggs used to come and hang out with my buddy Dennis Eggenberg. This is the guy I lived with last week when I was banging Jeannie on the floor. This was Dennis, who I lived with. So I wound up hanging out with Dennis because I met Dennis through Little Caesars. He would come to 7-Eleven when I was working there, and we would hang out all night, and just drink free Slurpees and eat free hot dogs and all the things we weren't supposed to be doing. We would be doing. I'm not a good employee. So. And the funniest part was there was a guy who used to come at like 2 a.m, 3 a.m, and he would deliver the local papers. He would bring the LA Daily News and the Los Angeles Times. And he would bring them in, and he was a big, heavy guy, like really, really obese. And he would wear jeans that hung off his ass and just a big, burly, like button-down shirt, and he had a brush cut, just a giant. He looked like a football coach from the 50s, like one of those guys, just a high and tight haircut. And sometimes chewing on a cigar, like a half cigar. It was like, Perry White was coming in. J. Jonah Jameson was delivering the papers, but a huge, fat J. Jonah Jameson. So he would come in, and he wouldn't say a word to me. And he would drop the papers off, and I'd go, "Sir, how you doing tonight?" And he would not say anything. He would just put the papers down and leave. And I told Dennis, I go, "This guy comes in every night." And this for a month. He would come in, because I worked there like 2 months. So he would come in for, 5 weeks, whatever, and he would say nothing. So Dennis is there one night, finally, and he sees the guy come in, and the guy he comes slogging in, dragging in the papers. And this is 6 weeks after. I've seen this guy every night for 6 weeks. And he finally puts the papers down, and I go, and now I've started to make it this elaborate thing because I'm so entertained by the fact that he won't talk to me. I think it's hilarious. He stacks the papers up, and I go, "Sir, it's good to see you this evening. You look fantastic. How are you doing?" And he turns around, looks at me, and just goes, "Fucked," and walks out. And it was so stunning. It was as if the television had spoken to me. It was like if I was watching a TV show and Donald Draper on Mad Men said, "Schmidt, what are you doing? Get up and get something." Like, it was like he came to life. And Dennis was there to see it, so I was really happy that I had somebody to back up my story. And I was like frozen. I was like, huh? He actually talked? And then to say that, like it wasn't even like anything nice or a smile. And he leaves, and after a good 5 seconds, just Dennis and I fell out laughing, just died crazy Arsenio laughing, just like, come on, are you serious? Fucked? That's going to live forever. I can't believe that happened. And then we went back to, spending $100 on scratch-off tickets. So we're hanging out, and that happened. So then I'm doing that thing again, 4 days on where I'm staying up, and then 2 days off, and then 4 days on, 2 days off. So I'm coming to the end of a bender once, and it's 4 days, and I just get home at 9:30, and I'm shoveling. I'm eating some Little Caesars pizza that is in the fridge, and I'm about to go to sleep for a day and a half, and the phone rings, and it's Terry from 7-Eleven, and the guy who does the other graveyard shifts, they fired him, and they go, "Can you come in and cover for him?" And I go, I'm dead. Like I can't even move. I've stayed up 4 days in a row, and I'm like completely wiped out. They go, "We will pay you double time for the shift tonight, and then we'll give you the next 2 days off paid if you can cover for us tonight." And let me tell you, if they're going to pay you double time at 7-Eleven, that's easily $60 for the entire shift. So how do you say no to that, folks? And I figured, well, you know what? I can go one more day. What the hell? So I go into 7-Eleven, I get there, and they're like, "Thank you so much for coming here, and we appreciate it." And I'll also paint a picture for you folks. This is at a time when I was like I weighed probably like 350. Like I was a fat dude, and I had a crazy long mullet. Like, this is pre, last week's story with Jeannie, but I was like, I probably weighed 350, and like I said, just this crazy long, weird hair, whatever. So I looked bad. So I show up, and I would bring my radio. I would bring a boombox, and I had a double-sided suitcase with cassette tapes, and each side held 75 cassette tapes. So I had 150 cassette tapes, my big boombox, and I would bring that every single night and just, fucking rock out at 7-Eleven and, waste life. So I show up, and I'm working, and finally, it's Sunday night, so like around 12, I go into the back, and I go sit down in the back office. And I'm looking at the security camera because they got the security camera that shows people coming in. And, I've only been there for like 2 hours, but I'm just going, well, the USA Today will be here at 1 o'clock, and I'll read that. Like I'm planning out my night to try to get through it. And like I said, it's about midnight. And then next thing I know, there's a guy going, "Hey, Mike." And I look up. He goes, "What are you doing, man?" And it's the guy who works at the gas station during the day next door. They're closed, but he stopped in to get something. And he goes, "What are you doing?" And I look at my watch. It's 12:20. I lost 20 minutes somewhere. And he goes, "What's up? Are you okay?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm fine." And he goes, "Oh man, you can't be sleeping here, dude. What's happening?" I go, "No, I'm not sleeping. I'm fine. I was just back here, taking care of some paperwork." There's no paperwork at 7-Eleven. I made it up. So I go out with him, and I talk with him for a little while, and I'm like, "Wow, that was crazy. I can't believe that happened." So then I'm doing everything I can to kind of stay awake. I'm staying on my feet. I'm walking around, and there's very few customers, but that's okay. I'm blasting my music, just crazy blaring it. And then I go back into the back, and it's about 1:30 when I go into the back, and I go, "You know what? You can't sit down. You can't. You got to get out of here." So I get up and I walk around. Finally, about 1:45, I go, "You know what? It's 15 minutes. Just have a seat. The USA Today is not here yet. Just go ahead and wait." Then the guy shows up with the paper, and I go out and I grab it, and I'm in the back with the USA Today. It's 1:45, and I'm reading the paper, and I look at the security camera. And then the next thing I hear is a door chime, bing bong, which is the outdoor. And I'm like, "Oh Christ, I got to go help that customer." So I get out and I walk out to the front, and the customer's there to get some coffee. And I go, "Hey, how you doing?" There's a good. And I look in my suitcase of cassette tapes is moved, and my radio's on the floor by the door. And I can't figure out why my radio's on the floor. And I'm like, well, that's weird. So I grab my radio and I put it back on the thing. And I'm not even making the connection yet. And the guy's getting his coffee. And I'm talking to him, and he walks over, and I ring him up. The drawer opens. It's completely empty. And I go, oh, boy. And the guy goes, what's up? And I go, nothing. That's, it was like $1.79 or whatever he pays me. And I look, and there's no money. There's no lottery tickets. There's nothing. And I look at the clock. It's 2:55.
Oh.
I was asleep for an hour in the back.
Oh.
I thought, like, literally, I'm in the back, and I figure, like I said, I hear a door chime, and to me, no time passed. None. I hear the door chime in the back. I come out to help the guy get his coffee. I open the drawer. It's empty. It's 2:55. So let me paint this picture for you. It's 2:55. There's no money in the drawer. I look down. There's no cigarettes at all in the store. They're kept under the counter. Then I realize I was supposed to lock the coolers at 2 a.m. because you can't sell beer after 2 a.m. Liquor sales are cut off at 2. I look over. One cooler is completely empty. There's nothing in it.
Oh my God.
And I just go, what happened? I look, and after the fact, I lock the coolers. Because now, I'm certainly not going to sell any beer. There's none to sell. But I'm going to make sure those coolers are locked. I'm standing there, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I make a phone call. I call the woman, the relief, who comes in at 6 in the morning. I forget, was her name Nancy? I don't know. But I call her, and I go, hey, I got a problem. She's like, what? And I go, I got robbed. She's like, Christ, are you okay? And I go, yeah, I'm fine. But she's like, well, you need to call the cops, and I'll call Terry, and we'll come over. So I said, okay. And I don't know what to do. So I call the police, and I tell them what happened. I just go, hey, we got robbed at 7-Eleven. They're like, okay, did you hit the alarm? And I go, no, it's a long story. Just, send somebody out here. So the cops come. Terry comes. Nancy comes. And by this time now, by the time everybody gets there, it's like 4 in the morning. So they got to call the owners, who are really nice to me, and they're people I like. They show up at 4 in the morning. They're like, are you okay? And I go, yeah. There's I got to tell you what happened. And they're like, well, hold on. Let's look at the security tape and see if we can, see what happened. So I go in the back, and they rewind the security tape, and you see me walking around. You see me, and literally I'm like dancing around and singing because I'm trying to stay awake. Like I'm yelling and I'm running around the store and I'm like stop starting and I was doing everything I could to stay awake. And you see it, and to watch it on tape is so ridiculous. It's just ludicrous that I'm doing spins and Eddie Van Halen jumps. Like I have the music blaring super loud and I'm playing air guitar and leaping in the air and there's no sound. Like you can't. All you see is me just jumping around, and they're laughing and they finally look at me like, what the fuck is going to happen here? And the thing is, I've done this before in the store, like, because you just don't think that you're getting recorded. So I'm sure they've seen it before. The cops haven't. So I'm in the room with 2 cops and Terry. Nancy's working the counter, and we're watching the tape. And I haven't told them yet exactly what happened with the robbery. I said, well, I was in the back. And they were like, well, let's watch the security tape. So you see me dancing and jumping around, and I'm singing, and I'm yelling. And I'm going, oh, I can't believe this is happening. Then you see me disappear, and you see the guy come in from the gas station. And then you see the 2 of us come walking out, like to the front. You see us walk out to the counter, and I'm talking to him and whatever. And you see me disappear again after he leaves. Then the USA Today comes, and you see me come out, and I grab a copy of that, and I'm reading it. And then you see me disappear. And then, folks, I'm gone for a long time. And you see a guy come in, and he takes a bottle of Coke, and he comes up, he's just buying and he comes to the counter, and he waits, and you see him yell, he's like, hello? And then he just leaves like $1 on the counter, and he splits. Then you see the guy come in and deliver the newspapers, and he cuts them loose and he puts them down there. And the thing is, there's a time code, so you can see the time ticking away. Then you see another guy come in. You see headlights, and he walks in, and he brings a 12-pack to the counter. And he looks around, and he waits, and then he takes the 12-pack and he splits. Then that guy comes back 5 minutes later with another guy. And they come in and they yell. And then you see one of them, he goes toward the back. So you know that what he did was he went in the back and saw me sleeping and then stood there and kept watch over me, because then on the tape, this other guy comes around. He reaches over the counter and he hits the drawer and he just steals all the money out of it and then runs away. 5 minutes goes by. He comes back. This time he's a little more brazen. He comes around the counter and moves my suitcase of 150 cassette tapes to get to the safe. And starts tugging on the safe and pulling on it. And then he starts hitting the safe with a hammer that was underneath the counter. That's how asleep I am, folks. I don't hear this guy hitting the safe with a hammer. He's pounding on it because it's a safe. It's a time-release safe. You have to hit a button, and then a roll of quarters will come out, and then 5 minutes later, it'll give you more change. So he's hitting it with a hammer, trying to get into the safe. Then he stands up, and he takes all the lottery tickets out of the drawer. He's behind the counter like me. I mean, he's the employee. If anyone comes in, I wish somebody would have come in just to see the elaborate scheme he would have had to explain why he was behind the counter. He has taken all the cash. Now he's taking the change. He's taking he takes the lottery tickets. Then he just starts taking all the cigarettes and dumping them into a huge box. He takes every cigarette in the place and walks out with this huge, he has to call his buddy, and the two of them carry this big box of cigarettes out to the car. They're just cleaning the joint out. I'm in the back taking a nap. They come back in. This is their fourth entrance into the store. They come back in and they start emptying the beer cooler. They just start carrying out beer. 40s and 12 packs and cases. They just start carrying it all out to the car. And I'm in the back dreaming. They come back in a fifth time. And they take all the Hostess snack food with the box from the cigarettes. They dump the cigarettes into the car, and they scrape all of the Twinkies and the Ho-Hos and everything into the fucking box. They come back in a sixth time. This time he takes my radio and puts it on the floor in front of the doors. And then they walk over, and I don't know what's left to steal that a stoner would want at this point. But they're only in the store for another 30 seconds, and headlights come up. They run. They run out the door. You see the headlights turn off. The guy walks in with the door chime. Ding dong. He walks past my radio. It's the guy who's going to get the coffee. And then you see my fat ass wander out to the register. And I'm talking to the guy. I'm like, hey, what's going on? You can't hear me, but you just see me carrying on a conversation. What's happening? Da-da-da. He puts his coffee up and he's like, oh, and you see I punched in, deet, deet, deet. The drawer opens, completely empty, and you won't see it, but my face just goes slack-jawed. My jaw's open, my eyes are saucers because the money's gone. Because first I look down and it doesn't register. It just opens, vroom, the money's gone, and then I just go, oh. And again, I'm fat and my hair's all crazy. I just look like a horrible, horrible person. And I'm in the back watching this, and the cops are there, and they're fast forwarding it, and you see these guys coming in, and they're doing all this. 6 times they enter the store, and I don't wake up. 6 times! And they look at me, and I just go, well, you shouldn't have called me in on my 5th day of not sleeping. I mean, I'm trying to get out of this. Somehow it's their fault. Because I don't know what else to say. Because honestly, I'm not comfortable enough to laugh. I want to laugh so bad because it is retarded. It is the craziest, longest robbery. I mean, it is just these guys, they come in and they're stealing the entire store in shifts while Fatty gets a nap in the back. And I wanted to laugh during the tape as they're showing it because it's just Keystone Cops. It's just fast motion forward. Guys walking in. It looked like, you ever see that Visa commercial where everybody's in line and everybody's paying with their check card and then one guy pays cash and everything falls to a halt? Well, imagine nobody paid cash and just kept going smoothly. These guys have a conga line of stolen products going out the front door. It looked like in The Sopranos when the mob busted out Robert Patrick's sporting goods store and they were just taking the stuff out the front door. That's what it looked like. And I wanted to laugh so bad. Just like, bah! What an idiot. Who's that fucking idiot? It's me. Store gets completely cleaned out. And I said to him, I go, hey, you really shouldn't have called me in on my 5th day. Because what else do you say at that point? Sorry? And I did, though. Because honestly, I really liked those people, and I felt terrible. I tried to do what I could, but I just went, hey, I'm really sorry. They go, well, I mean, it is what it is now. There's nothing we can do about it. And I go, and they were like, they said we can trace the numbers on the lottery tickets. So if they win, because we had to log the numbers on the lottery tickets. So I don't know if they ever busted those guys. Who knows? But I actually said, I was like, I'm guessing I'm fired. And they go, you know what? Go home and get some sleep, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. And I was like, okay, you guys don't have to pay me double for tonight if you don't want. I actually said that. They're like, go home and go to sleep. I go, all right, you guys don't have to pay me double for tonight if you don't want. Okay, Mike, just go home, please. All right, and you know what? You really don't have to give me the next 2 days off paid or whatever like you planned. No, that's okay, Mike. Just get out of here. Because literally this man, Terry, wants to murder me. He wants to just throttle me because he just watched thousands of dollars walk out the door as I caught a nap in his office. Oh, horrendous. So they fired me. And over the phone, and it was so funny. This place was a block from my house. This was the 7-Eleven I would go to every day and get my newspapers. This was the 7-Eleven I would stop in and get a soda. It was on the corner. My apartment complex was on the corner, and I would walk half a block to this 7-Eleven. That's why it was so easy for me to work there. And so now I had to go elsewhere to get my newspapers and to get everything else. But they fired me, and I don't blame them, quite frankly. So that was another gig that I had. I was going to tell you that about being in a graveyard job last week. And it was awful. It was so funny, but at the same time, it was so terrible. It was so, oh God, was it bad. And, thankfully it happened. I got to be honest, because it led me to go, you know what, I got to get the fuck out of here. I'm doing nothing with my life. And then I wound up moving to Tahoe. And we'll all talk about that another time, too, about the stuff that happened there. But, here was the even worse news, by the way. I found out from Nancy, who I knew there, that insurance did not cover the robbery, because normally those things are insured up the ass at 7-Eleven. So if there's a robbery, they're insured if anything happens. Clerk negligence went ahead and made sure that the insurance didn't cover this, so they were out of pocket for the entire thing. There was no sort of blowback. There was no insurance settlement or payment. They weren't covered at all because I fucking nodded off. And honestly, I should have just lied. I should have said, you know what, I was in the back and they surprised me and tied me up, and then they would have gotten their money back, those people. But I felt awful. It was not good. So, there you go. So basically, don't hire me is my message. I shouldn't be saying, again, any show business related job, any writing job, I've done very well, folks. I haven't nodded off. I've gone ahead and done my job. So any prospective employers who are listening to this, please, by all means, don't hold this against me. This is all stuff that happened a long time ago. I don't know, but there you go. So I'm never going to get hired for anything again. I'm going to be doing free shows my whole life. All shows that are dedicated to anybody who risked their lives to tell the truth about their their life at 7-Eleven. Dedicated to the men and women in Tustin, California, who went ahead and fought the good fight, and that guy who still to this day probably tells the story about the day he came into 7-Eleven and found the clerk asleep and stole everything in the store. He was like the Grinch. Like he came in and I picture him, he was like on his belly, like sliding around 7-Eleven, taking the cigarettes and he took the Who Feast, he took the last can of Who Hash, took all of it. He galumped my galumpher. He spelunked my spelunkter. He took it all. The 7-Eleven Grinch. He's a mean one. 7-Eleven Grinch. He really is a heel. All right. You guys can write me at mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com. Go ahead and write me there, please, and let me know what you're thinking or doing or sharing anything you want to share with me. Also go to Mike's MySpace. Mike's MySpace. Apparently, I'm talking about myself in the third person, folks. Go to Mike's MySpace. It's myspace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. Go visit there and go look at a picture of me grating potatoes. You'll enjoy that. And so again, mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com. myspace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. And I just said slash. I said slash. You know what is terrible, folks? I have a lisp. Like, I noticed it when I was doing Never Not Funny, and I was going, well, maybe that's just me hearing myself. But I lisp. It's awful. Like, there's nothing. You know how they always say you don't hear yourself until you hear yourself on a recording? Well, I've always had a pretty good idea what my voice sounds like. Although I guess not, because I thought I had an announcer voice until I met my buddy David, and I heard what an announcer voice really sounds like. Because David has that voice of God, Moses, Charlton Heston thing, where anything he does has gravitas. Like, he says, pass me the butter, and the entire restaurant stops and turns around. Maybe that's why he doesn't want to get into it with the waiters and the waitstaff, because he would overpower them with his baritone and shame them. Meanwhile, me with my fat lisp, I hate this lisp. And as I hear it, and even at my house, when you think you have a lisp, I'll say stuff with S's in it, and I'll go, I'm not lisping. I mean, that's not really a lisp, is it? Yes, it is. I have a lisp. It's terrible. So how hard is it for me to say myspace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy? Because there's slash and Schmidt and space. It's all in there at once. So regardless, go there and tease me about my lisp. So go and write mike@MikeSchmidtComedy.com. Go to myspace.com/MikeSchmidtComedy. Subscribe in iTunes and go to iTunes and leave a review. I'd appreciate it. They would appreciate it too, because I get a lot of calls from iTunes looking for reviews. But no, I don't. What if they did? The iTunes people dialed me up. They're like, hey, you know what? We got to call the 40-year-old boy, see how he's doing these days. We've spent enough time talking to Keith and the girl. We need to get 40-year-old boy on board. So go ahead and do that. And also, by the way, I should tell you that season 1 of Never Not Funny is still available to purchase. Go ahead and get that. It was a lot of fun to do, and it's even more fun to listen to. So go ahead and get this season 1 of Never Not Funny. You can go to MikeSchmidtComedy.com and go to store and see it there and buy it and enjoy it and have a good time with that. And also go to ComedyFilmNerds.com and read any articles or columns or reviews that are up there. A lot of funny stuff is there for you to peruse. Right now, my review of Tropic Thunder is there. And go ahead and read that and read about why Robert Downey Jr. is an amazing genius. And what else? Was there one more thing? September 5th. I'll tell you this. At the UCB Theater, they're doing a ComedyFilmNerds.com movie comedy night. I don't know if it's movie comedy or if it's a comedy about movies. I'm an idiot. It's a stand-up show with people who are involved with the site. I haven't talked to them yet to see if we have to make that a movie-themed night or if it's just come and do your ridiculous jokes. But it's Graham Elwood, who's incredibly funny, Chris Mancini, who's incredibly funny, Jackie Cation, who's incredibly funny, Maria Bamford, who's incredibly funny, Chris Hardwick, who's incredibly funny, and then me, who is doing a free podcast. So come out and check us all out. September 5th at the UCB Theater on Franklin in Hollywood. I don't know the times and stuff yet, but I will go ahead and post it. Or you can go to ucb.com, Los Angeles, or whatever it is, and check it out. But that's September 5th. All right, it's lunchtime. I'm gonna eat something, and I'm gonna force Lily to eat something, and I'm eating it. She's gonna be like a foie gras, like I'm just gonna pin her down and shove stuff down her throat. That's what I do. Because I tell her, I go, hey man, help me out and I'll buy you lunch. That's like the only thing I have to offer is like offering a lunch. And then unfortunately, sometimes she'll be like, I don't want to go to lunch. So then I feel like I owe her, and I hate feeling that way to anybody. It's just so terrible. But and it's funny because Karen's out of town. Karen's gone for like 2 weeks. So it's like, hey, Bachelor. You know what Bachelor did the last 2 days? Sat in his house and did nothing. Literally didn't leave it. Yesterday, the chain didn't come off my door. That's how inert I was. I sat in the house, went on the computer, tried to figure out why it kept freezing, downloaded a new Defender, Bitdefender, Cyber Defender, whatever nonsense, and I went and talked to Karen at night. Literally watched the Olympics, watched all the human veal, women's gymnastics. It's so funny to see those girls with those thumb necks. Oh, those poor girls. I mean, you just know that their whole lives have been on that balance beam and just. And then like I said, I go out and eat, and I'm like, those girls have never gone out and eat. They've never, literally, they've eaten slices of apple. That's all that they've had. And but I've been watching the Olympics, and it's so funny. I wrote off the Olympics. I was not a fan, and then now because Karen's out of town, that's all I watch is the goddamn Olympics. I actually TiVo it and then fast forward through to watch what's happening. I watched the tandem rowing. That was awful. And they had these two dudes from the United States, like Tyler. Here's their names, and I'm going to try to pull it just off the top of my head. But they were running down all the the tandem rowers, and they're talking about how hard they work. And they had Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss from Greenwich, Connecticut, and they're identical twin rowers. And all I could think of was, man, have those guys had 1 ounce of adversity in their entire lives? Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss, Olympic rowers from Greenwich, Connecticut. Literally, you could have just said Whitey McWhite and his brother White. That's who they are. Richie McWhite and bank account Johnson. That's who they are. Because if you're two rich white twins from Connecticut, you're like, well, you know what, Mommy? I decided to start rowing. Yes. And I'm sure they're wonderful people. I don't know if they listen. Who knows? Maybe they had earbuds on while they were tandem rowing in their skulls and listening to me babble on about nonsense. But I'm sorry. I can't. I watched those guys, and all I could think of was every story from China is like, this Chinese gymnast, unfortunately, has lived in a shoebox from the age of 3. So she didn't grow big enough to go ahead and grow out of doing the floor exercise. And and she's been eating nothing but air for the last 2 years to try to stay in shape for this And I think of Tyler and Cameron Winklevoss eating foie gras out of the canoe that they bought as they brush their teeth with gold. Terrible. But I can't stop watching it. But now I'm going to go eat lunch. So that's what I don't know why I keep saying that. Why am I saying that? You know what? I'm a dick, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a decent guy because I am a jerk. And I'm not a jerk. Man, I'm an awful guy. I'm not an awful guy. I am not a good guy. But I don't think I'm a bad person overall. So, and go ahead and by all means judge that. I'm kind of a jagoff. I got no future. What am I talking about? But I am a jagoff. And I'm not a jerk. I'm a nice guy. It's just I guess I have jerky tendencies. I've done so much ridiculous stuff, and then I wonder afterwards, I'm like, man, how come I don't hang out with anybody? Here's why, because you're a dick. You're finished. 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 You're finished.